Starting in April of last year, I decided to replay every single FromSoftware game to get myself ready for the upcoming Elden Ring DLC. I planned to do something similar to this 2 years ago before Elden Ring came out, but my computer sort of exploded, so we're doing it now. In the last episode, we beat the freaking Orphan of Cause blindfolded in Bloodborne, and this time around we're starting Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. If you enjoyed this episode, by the way, feel free to check out the last episode, linked in the description down below, and also check out some of our other series. Also hit that subscribe button as we post videos from this series every single Tuesday. I hope you guys enjoy. So first off, welcome to the world of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. When FromSoftware first announced the name Shadows Die Twice, everyone thought it was going to be a sequel to Bloodborne, but we couldn't have been more wrong. Set in a Sengoku-era Japan, Sekiro follows the story of Wolf, or as we come to know him, Sekiro, as he must save his young master at a time when war is raging high in the land of Ashina. We'll cover the story details more and more as we go, but let's just cover the backstory. In the land of Ashina, the war of the Sengoku era raged on until a master swordsman named Ishin staged a coup and took control of the land through bloodshed. At the tail end of the war, a shinobi named Owl came across a young boy on the battlefield and took him in, this of course being Sekiro. As an adult, Sekiro is charged with protecting a young boy, his new master, Kuro, who has some sort of gift that makes him a prime target for assassins and kidnappers alike. 20 years after the coup staged by Ishin, the Ashina clan is near its breaking point, and somehow, Sekiro's father has died and his master has been taken. A yet unnamed woman brings a letter to a disheartened Sekiro, which is from an unknown party that knows where Kuro is being held, and thus our mission begins. There's going to be a lot of that in this game, just a heads up. Sekiro controls a lot different compared to other games we've played in this series. First of all, you have an actual jump button, which I know if you've only ever played Elden Ring isn't crazy, but for those of us who grew up with the other Souls games, this is absolutely mind-blowing. You also have a crouch button, and stealth is a big part of this game. Like, I know in Elden Ring there is the stealth that you can kind of hide from enemies, but it's pretty much Sekiro's whole thing is stealth and assassinations and just being a ninja. We begin with a small tutorial section sneaking along the outskirts of the area towards the Moonview Tower where Kuro is being held. Upon finding him, we are given our sword as well as a charm from Kuro. You can actually give the charm back to Kuro, but this will make the game a lot harder, so I decide not to do that. Kuro tells us to reach a secret passage and signal for him once we arrive, so now it's time for some combat. The simplest way I like to describe Sekiro is that it is a rhythm game. The entire game is built around a parry and stamina system. The fastest way to kill enemies is to parry them, opening them up for a death blow to secure the kill. Some enemies, usually bosses and mini-bosses, have multiple death blow marks, which means you have to deplete their stamina or health twice or maybe even 3 times to actually defeat them. It's honestly really difficult to grasp when you first play the game, but once you get the hang of it, Sekiro has the most satisfying combat engine in FromSoftware history. Once you reach the secret tunnel, you can signal for Kuro and make your escape, or so it seems. Upon exiting, you are faced with Genichiro Ashina, the grandson of Ishin and the man who kidnapped Kuro in the first place. So now it's time for a boss fight. I want to do it because there's a unique cutscene.
50への御前依頼か。
源一郎殿。
Yeah, don't know. Not Sama, but don't know.
私はすまぬ。
俺は
お任せを。
Kaizo Kori. No, it's Kaizo Kori Ore wa Naru. Something along those lines. I'm gonna be king of the shinobi.
邪魔立てするか、巫女の忍びを。
God, he's so cool.
Ashina Genichiro.
I don't know if we're gonna use this early. Damn. Yeah, see. Oh, well, okay. Okay, look, listen, you're supposed to lose this fight. Don't yell at me saying that I'm bad, although, to be fair, I am extremely rusty. I haven't played this game in about 2.5, 3 years, and I used to have this fight absolutely memorized, and I don't anymore. Genichiro cuts off your arm, kidnaps Kuro, and leaves you for dead. Once you awaken, you are in a small home full of Buddha statues being washed over by an old man with one arm, and now you have a fake arm to replace the one you lost. Yeah, that was a real sentence. The man who has saved us is the sculptor and is responsible for not only the thousands of Buddha statues in the room, but also your new arm, which he calls the Shinobi prosthetic. You learn that Kuro is alive, being held prisoner in Ashina Castle by Genichiro, and the sculptor also mentions Kuro's bloodline. The only information we get regarding that is that Kuro carries something called the dragon's heritage in him, and is the reason so many people are actually after him. Outside of the hut, we can find a woman named Emma who mentions us coming back to life, which she attributes to the dragon's heritage. She's a doctor and the main one responsible for upgrading your healing flasks. Lastly in this area is a man named Hanbei who challenges you to a duel. Of course we kill him, but he suddenly rises from the dead saying that he cannot die and doesn't know why. #bars. Hanbei can be used to practice your sword techniques as well as any other skills you learn along the way. That's everything here, so follow the path and use your new arm as grappling hook, which is insanely sick, to begin the actual meat of this game. For the most part, Sekiro is extremely linear, with only like one or two real examples of exploring being necessary, so it actually kind of makes walking you through the areas a bit weird, because part of the way I did it in Bloodborne and Dark Souls and all that stuff was I was guiding you through these sort of more open areas where the path wasn't always obvious. Dark Souls 3, it's a bit more obvious, but that was more about, having fun with my friends. But Sekiro, like 95% of this game, it's kind of just walk in a straight line and kill the enemies. And don't get me wrong, it's great. Sekiro is a very polished and damn near perfect experience, but it just makes it so I'm like, walk forward, here's some enemies. It'd be a bit boring, so instead I'm going to be kind of giving you these huge overviews of the areas we're going to be going through, as well as explaining about different enemies and stuff like that. This first section is still very simple. We're still kind of in like a halfway tutorial section of the game. The enemies, don't worry, trust me, they can still kill you, but if you are even slightly okay with your parrying, you should be able to get through this first section no problem. Your enemies are sword wielders who come with hats and no hats, which, yeah, makes a difference. The no hat guys are weaker than the hat guys. I don't know why. There's also these giant chickens, which will mess you up if you do not take them seriously. So if you see a chicken, kill it. Do not give it a chance to fight you. It will seriously murder you. And then lastly, once you get further, like far enough along in the path, there are these wolves that you can kill, and then up on the right on a ledge there's a sculptor's idol, which is basically our bonfire equivalent for the game. You may have noticed that while killing enemies, you weren't actually getting souls like you would in a normal Souls game, but you were getting two other things. First of all is money, called Sen. This is used to purchase items, and also to upgrade shinobi tools, I believe, and to buy spirit emblems, which you need spirit emblems to be able to use shinobi tools. We'll talk about shinobi tools later. I don't remember when we actually get the shuriken. We're gonna get it at some point after this next boss, but I don't remember actually when. Just whenever you get it, you can take it back to the sculptor to get it fitted, and then you have a shuriken, which costs spirit emblems to use. And like I said, you can upgrade it with Sen and also other materials as you go through the game. The second thing you may have noticed that you were getting is experience, like an actual experience bar up in the top right corner of the screen. This is also sort of weird. Again, it's not souls, it's literally an experience bar. Nowhere in this episode do I actually use any of my experience bar points, so I'm going to kind of save explaining it for later, but just know that when you die, you will lose half your Sen and also half your progress towards your next level, so, just be careful about that. There's also some other consequences of dying, but we will get to that later. Once you pass the wolves and grab the items out of this destroyed bridge, you come to your first mini-boss of the game, General Naomori Kawahara. Let's go. I try not to be stupid. No, don't you run. No, sir. That's one. Oh, Jesus. Oh, gosh. No, stop that. Stop it! You got yourself killed, moron. Pretty basic big sword guy, basically sort of a weaker version of the guy we fought at the very beginning of the game. Don't get me wrong, again, he can mess you up. If you die to this guy, it is not you being bad. When I first played this game, I got destroyed by him. I've just played it a lot. That thing he was doing where he was like charging up his energy, that would have healed a lot of his stamina damage. I'm calling it stamina. The orange bar that you see down there, or that we're mainly damaging when we attack enemies, is actually called the poise bar, or no? Is that right? Is it poise? What's it called? I don't actually remember. I just said poise, and then I realized that I don't actually think that's what it's called, but you know what? It's whatever. Anyway, what was I saying? No, I don't want to. I like this take. I don't want to end it. Yeah. Oh, anyway, yes. So he's pretty basic. His attack patterns are fairly simple. You may have noticed that there were some attacks he were doing that would put a red thing over my head, and when those happen, it means you cannot parry those attacks. So there's two kinds of attacks that cannot be parried there. Well, actually three, I guess. There are these big wide sweeps that you can't really parry. There's only some of them that are like that. There's also stabs, you can't parry those, and then grab attacks, which we won't be dealing with for not to the end of this episode. But those three attacks cannot be parried. If you see that red thing above your head, you need to either dodge away, jump away, or use some other skills that we'll be getting later on in the game. Finally, pretty much any boss or mini-boss you defeat will award you with a prayer bead, which you saw pop up. And when you have 4 prayer beads, you can turn it into a prayer bead necklace, which will actually increase your maximum health. The next area is a bit more open and has 2 new enemy types. The first being archers, and the second being this fat baby man with a big hammer, who is, he's not a joke, that's just the best way to describe him. He's actually really a big problem. In most instances of this game, going through an area stealthily and killing enemies one at a time is pretty much the best way to handle stuff. Sekiro doesn't have a dodge roll, so while you can run around and sort of dodge to the sides, dealing with more than 2 enemies at once is a massive pain. I suggest just performing these big drop attacks that you can do on pretty much any enemy that doesn't know you're there, and retreating back up into the upper areas or upper sections of this area to hide until they lose their alert status, and just kind of rinse and repeat that. I will say, though, to the left, there's a path through the cliffs you can take if you aren't keen on fighting many enemies right now. I think there's a couple chickens over there, and there's some items, but it'll pretty much get you to avoid all these enemies. Once you make it through, we can come across 2 new NPCs. First is this old blind woman calling out for her son Inosuke. She'll ask if you've seen Kuro, and pretty much regardless of your answer, she'll then give you a bell charm that we'll use next episode. If you exit the house, you can find another NPC, a man on the verge of death, who is actually the son of the woman in the building. Of course he is, Inosuke. He recognizes you from somewhere and mentions that his mother would talk about offering the bell charm to Buddha, so we'll have to ask the sculptor about that later. Continue on through, dealing with more normal enemies, including a guy wrapped in cloth and wielding a literal cannon. I recommend sneaking around to the left side and executing him stealthily, as this enemy type can be a massive pain to deal with at the moment. I actually decided to jump off to the right through these cliffs to spot a very suspicious looking white moss or something, I don't know what it is, and then grab another sculptor's idol. Just by the way, I do know what it is. I'm just trying to, that's for dramatic effect for the video. If you know what it is, don't spoil it in the comments. We have another boss coming up, but first is a few more things. If you head down, you'll find 2 things. The first is a remnant, this one being a conversation between Kuro and Emma. Seems she interacted with the young master before. Kuro mentioned some place called Hirata, which Inosuke actually mentioned as well, so we'll need to try and remember that. Behind you against the castle gate is a man named Aoyama, who will sell you things and has a questline you can follow as well. Aoyama also seems to remember us, so at this point we can pretty much be 100% sure that Sekiro has some sort of massive gap in his memory. Aoyama asks for some money, and once given to him, he begins to give you information. Aoyama, along with his gang, broke into a place called Hirata Estate, which we've heard mentioned before, which was engulfed in some sort of battle at the time, which is how Aoyama and his thugs were able to steal things. They set the place on fire and actually meet Sekiro, who seems surprised by this. Buying more information will give us info about another shinobi tool, but we can talk about that later. Although, just, side note, if you know anything about this game, go get the shinobi tool right now before this next boss fight. It's going to make things so much friggin' easier for you. Now, I clear out the enemies in this last section and prepare to fight our first real boss, the Chained Ogre. Hello, sir. That just kills me straight up. Okay. So that went pretty quick. Or did it?
王から我が血と共に生きてくれ。
You know what they say. Shadows die twice and all that stuff. Bro, whatever. No, it went pretty quick. Anyway, welcome to the main mechanic of this game, Resurrection. By taking the blood of Kuro and gaining the dragon's heritage, Sekiro is able to resurrect himself for each of these little red orbs you have over your health bar. Though I will say, if you use one of the red orbs, you have to land a big death blow against like a large enemy to be able to use another use of your resurrection. Also, you see I only have 2 orbs right now. One is refreshed every time we respawn, so you always have 1 resurrection, but the other one has to be charged up by killing enemies. Once it's full, you can use it. Once you use it, it goes back to being depleted and you have to fill it up a second time. Now let's get back to the boss. God damn it. I haven't even gotten a freaking point off of him yet. Okay. I'm dead. Okay. No! Okay, that's almost half of the You gotta be kidding me. No. I got greedy. Dude, come on! Bro, what? Ah! I swear to God, dude. That can't. Once again, I can't risk it. Like, again, I get it. The point is to teach you about ninja tools because it wants you to use the flame one. Once you do Harada State before this, I don't care. I don't care what the game wants to do. I care what I want to do. Oh, come on, dude! So dumb! I know there's the pellets. I understand that. But, like... dodged in a way that it didn't matter. God damn it, dude. It is so fucking stupid. Literally was about to be in the process of saying this is the... fuck away from me. Oh, hold on. No, I mean, it's fine. Just annoyed. They're fucking annoying. Now I know I made that boss look really difficult, and that's because it is. Red-eyed enemies are, first of all, super strong. These chained ogres have insane grab hitboxes, but they're also scared of fire. So you're actually kind of supposed to go and get the flame barrel that Aoyama talked about before you do this boss fight. I didn't do it. So that makes these chained ogre fights some of the most difficult and frustrating boss fights in the game. And yes, I said fights because as far as I remember, there is at least one more of these guys that you'll have to deal with throughout this game. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end the episode here. Next time around, we find the source of that white moss and also fight our first major boss of the game. I'll see you guys then. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. This is going to be much different compared to the other Souls games because there's a lot of story going on. Elden Ring's probably going to be similar to this. First of all, Elden Ring's going to be like 40 episodes. Let's just be real. But it's going to be similar to this where I'm going to be discussing a lot of the story. With Elden Ring, it's going to be more like I'm going to have probably episodes dedicated to different NPC quests. So, you know, just that's probably what I'm going to do there. But Sekiro, it's a lot of story. This is very much a story-based Souls game. The story, it's not like the other games where there's a lot of implied stuff that you have to go out and search for. A lot of stuff's told to you. There are still some bits and pieces that you have to read and analyze to fully grasp what's going on. But for the most part, you're told what's happening and you're shown what's happening. And so there's a ton of story being covered. And I didn't cover a lot of the story in the other Souls games because it's just implied stuff and stuff you kind of got to make guesses about or read a whole ton of lore. But since this one straight face tells you it, I wanted to cover it more, because also that means that this series won't just be like 4 episodes. Because if I'm being honest, I go through this game's not super long, and once I got into the rhythm of it, I really started tearing through it at a quick pace. And so I want to make sure that I'm able to take my time with the series a bit more before we jump into Demon Souls, a game I'm less familiar with. But anyway, I really do hope you guys enjoyed. Like as I said at the beginning of the episode, you can go to the description to watch the last episode of our Bloodborne series, where again I fought 95% of the bosses in Bloodborne blindfolded. It was crazy. We beat the Orphan of Cause. It took 20 attempts, I believe, and it was so cool. There's also some other series we're doing on the channel. You have Pokemon Radical Red, very hard Pokemon game. You also have the Resident Evil 4 remake. That's been a ton of fun to play, although I've been getting a bit frustrated recently just from boss fights and other sections, feeling a bit unfair, but that may just be me being bad. As for streams, I know I keep saying we're going to be doing streams. I have been way busier than I thought I was going to be, despite the fact that school is, like, my work is done. I've been super busy with my girlfriend. We've been spending a lot of time together. We didn't have a ton of time to spend together while I was working, so we've been spending more time together, and I haven't had as much time to stream as I wanted to, but that's, I mean, for me, that's okay. We still are planning on getting Demon Souls finished before or getting Elden Ring finished before the DLC comes out. I'm starting to think less and less that that's going to happen, because it literally comes out in like 27 days, and we're still not even done with Demon Souls. I don't even know if I can beat Elden Ring that fast, mostly because I don't have all the time in the world to play Elden Ring. So yeah, anyway, that's mostly that. I still hope you guys enjoyed. Next week, like I said, we're doing White Moss things again. If you know what I'm talking about, don't you dare spoil it in the comments for the people who don't know what we're talking about. That, and then we're going to be facing Gyobu, so that's going to be a ton of fun as well. Anyway, one last time, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week for more Sekiro. Bye!